Process had been switched to $179.50.
The hunt is on for Stones tickets, but you won't believe what happened to one fan when he went to make a purchase. It's only rock and roll. That's why some Stones fans have no sympathy for the way Ticketmaster's pricing seats for the band's show north of the city this summer. Chris Glover joins us now. And Chris, the pre-sale tickets went on sale yesterday, but there's already lots of outrage over the process.
A Barrie man says he was offered tickets to the Stones' June concert for one price, only to see that price jump at the last minute with no explanation. And tonight, he's accusing Ticketmaster of a bait and switch. Thousands of Rolling Stones fans felt the rush yesterday when pre-sale tickets went online for their Ontario show in June.
You're competing with computers and all these other people. You're not there to do math to make sure that some corporation didn't switch the price on you halfway through the process.
That's what Edward Mayer says happened, so he restarted the process and took video to prove it.
And I realized that those $119.50 tickets halfway through the process had been switched to $179.50, and there was no warning pop-up.
People pushed for answers from the venue Burrells Creek, an hour and a half north of Toronto. The venue explained during pre-sales when one price level is sold out, customers are automatically redirected to the next pricing level. That's a common practice called dynamic pricing. But if the lower price was sold out, how could Mayer have restarted his order, again been offered the lower price, and taken video?
That's not how it works. Normally they say another fan beat you to the ticket. Do you want these other ones?
Oh.
We showed his video outside the Rogers Centre box office.
I think that's rude, I guess.
Rude?
Rude. I mean, you go on, you think it's one price and it changes. I mean, is that fees or something?
See, that's a piss off. That's like airline tickets, right?
Yeah.
You see a price and then you go to cash out your ticket and then it skyrockets. It's like a bait for you to click onto it. My conclusion is it's a scam. It should be illegal.
Mayer goes to some 60 concerts a year and runs an Instagram account helping connect people with tickets. So when Ticketmaster told him it was an isolated problem, he decided to speak out.
They're not owning up to it. They try to say it's a few isolated incidents. Through my social media, Toronto Concert Guy, I have dozens of people.
For a rock band famous for singing about getting no satisfaction, that's exactly what Mayer says music fans are getting.
Everybody wants to go and see their favorite band. Everybody wants to go see the Rolling Stones. The reason why these tickets are going up and up and up and up is because the games that are being played by the people that are selling the tickets, and at the end of the day, it's the consumer that's paying for it.
Ticketmaster has not returned our request for comment, but Mayer says the company just got back to him to say it would honor that lower ticket price he was originally quoted, and he'll get a refund in 2 to 3 days. Meanwhile, the Competition Bureau of Canada says last year it took action against Ticketmaster for deceptive claims and says if other people are feeling duped, to contact them. Dwight?
Thank you, Chris. Look at that. Pay attention if you're walking around downtown. Large chunks of ice have been falling from buildings in the core. This is video from Yonge and Bloor this afternoon. It was shut down for most of the day. Police say no one has been hurt by the falling ice. The area has since been reopened to pedestrians and traffic. And I'm guessing, Colin, if the ice is falling, you may be talking about a warm-up.
Yes, you guessed correctly, and we're going to be seeing more of that and coming along with some rain, in fact, because the temperature is so mild through the overnight hours. It's too bad we're going to see the warmest temperatures, though, when most of us or many of us will be sleeping. So a look at those readings right now. They've been coming up through the afternoon hours. We're at 0 for Toronto and for Mississauga, 2 in St. Catharines. And then as we have a look at the radar, a little band of some light flurry activity went through earlier, some wet flurries. It wasn't very well organized. There's not a lot of moisture with this particular system. And so you can see kind of the center of it is still back to the northwest of us. And then there's some breaks in it here as it's coming towards us. So what we'll see is it filling in a little bit as we go through the later evening and overnight hours. Wet flurries changing over, especially close to the lakeshore, anywhere kind of south of the 401, maybe even north of that. We're going to see it turning over to some rainfall, and that's what we'll have through the overnight as the temperatures rise. And then tomorrow morning on the backside, Here's 7 a.m., probably still a little bit wet for that morning commute, and then maybe even a bit of mixing in with snow and wet snow before it moves out. But it should be moving out in the morning hours, leaving behind, though, some scattered flurries as we go into the afternoon, and also leaving behind much colder temperatures. So warm overnight, and then what we find tomorrow is the temperature will be falling through the day. Look at that, 3 tonight, and tomorrow by the afternoon falling to -4. We'll look at what the temperatures look like for the holiday weekend when I come back, Dwight.
Thank you, Colette.
You're welcome.
Well, if you're still looking for a Valentine's gift, how about a tank of gas? Prices are expected to jump 7 cents tonight.
This is probably as good as it gets. From this point forward, I would look for gas prices in the GTA to remain on average above $1 a litre, at least until October, November of next year.
Plus, in April, the federal government will implement its levy on the 4 provinces that have not developed a carbon pricing framework. That includes Ontario, and it would mean an additional 4.49 cents per litre.
I hope that someone get my message in a bottle. It's about loyalty. You know, these workers have loyally given their lives to the company. It's a two-way street. You can't just walk away.
Sting takes the stage in Oshawa with a song and a message to General Motors. The world-famous rocker is performing a musical in our city right now, and today he took a pared-down version of that show and his acoustic guitar to Oshawa, playing for free for GM workers who are facing massive layoffs. As Ali Chiasson shows us, the former police frontman says he understands what they are going through.
A message in a bottle.
GM workers are feeling very seen right now.
Sending out an SOS. Keep going. The reason we're here is we want to show our support and solidarity for your cause here. Lay it out on the table.
Sting is here with the cast of his new musical, The Last Ship. Inspired by his experience growing up in a shipbuilding town in northeast England. But that industry dissolved, and so did the community's economy, identity. In character, ladies and gentlemen, Sting.
Well, I say this. I do not consent. It's not the story of us being expendable. It's the story of us being unstoppable.
You think about the actual show itself, it gets right to the throat and the heart of what's going on in the city today.
Every breath you take.
It's got to be pretty powerful to hear him sing this song right now for you guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. It is powerful, and I'm glad I attended.
What do you say? I'll be watching.
This is exactly the kind of attention the union representing the GM workers wants to keep the story of the plant closure in the news.
Thank you so much for being here today, Francis, Joe. What an honor and a privilege.
Thanks, Jerry. Thank you. I think you have a duty to support the community that's worked for you, and it should be a mutual support system.
11 weeks ago, GM announced the Oshawa plant will close by the end of the year. Sting can't change that, admittedly.
We are telling your story, and it's important that your story is heard. This can't be buried under the political carpet.
Everyone knew in the industry that was in the plans a few years ago to make, to close down. What we're doing, we're reaching out to the GM workers to make sure they get retrained, they find good paying jobs.
Today's Sting performance was a welcome distraction.
I haven't seen Sting in a long time, since the days of the police.
I'm a president of my local, so I was able to take a holiday day and come up and enjoy a moment of this.
To sway to the music of The Last Ship, while the day the last car is made in Oshawa looms. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Oshawa.
While GM workers were gathering for that show, the Premier was in Woodbridge announcing money for the province's auto industry.
I'm very happy to announce that under the leadership of Minister Smith is launching a 10-year driving prosperity plan.
The plan is worth $40 million. It includes money for an automotive modernization program, internships, and an online learning and training portal. Ontario NDP leader Andrea Horwath is calling on a PC MPP, Lisa MacLeod, to resign. It comes after an association of behavior analysts said she pressured them to support changes to the province's autism program.
It was disappointing to the ministry, I believe, that we didn't provide a positive statement for the program. And as we indicated to our membership in a communication that was intended for our membership, we were informed that it would be a long 4 years for us without that statement.
In a statement, Horwath said, with these threats hanging over advocates for children with autism, it is clear we're seeing the Forward Conservatives engage in a dangerous and chilling politics of revenge and personal attacks. In light of Lisa MacLeod's actions, Ontarians cannot be expected to have confidence in her as a minister. Lisa MacLeod must resign, and if she fails to do so, Doug Ford must insist on her resignation. Here's what the Premier had to say today.
I would never, ever, I want to repeat that, ever ask Lisa to resign. She's done an incredible job. Do you know what my kryptonite is? My kryptonite is when you talk about children. You talk about children with autism. That is a tough, tough file. We want to make sure that all 100% of the families, not just 25%, all 100% get proper funding, and that's our goal, and I think the minister's done an incredible job. I will have an opportunity to sit down and talk to her today.
Last week, MacLeod announced changes to autism programs in Ontario. They aim to clear a backlog of 23,000 children waiting for therapy. To do that, a child with autism will be given a cap of $140,000 in funding for treatment from ages 2 to 18. That's something families and advocates say falls far short of what's needed for intensive therapy, which can cost $80 grand a year. If you've tried and failed to find affordable housing in Toronto, researchers at Ryerson University have some advice for you. Get creative. City Hall reporter Lauren Pelly has been following a new real estate report from the university. And Lauren, in your reporting, you've met a few people who found cheaper than average homes in not so typical ways.
Of course, and these people, as we all know, are outliers because to try and rent a place in Toronto right now, well, a one-bedroom can go for around $2,000 a month, easily. This new report from Ryerson talks about the need for innovation, thinking outside the box when it comes to finding a place to live, whether it's the city planning it, or in a way, people like you and me trying to find a spot. I spoke to two gentlemen who moved here from Paris recently, and they found a micro condo, a tiny unit under 300 square feet, and they're renting that for $1,850 a month.
Hi, my name is Michael.
And my name is Erwan, and we live in a micro condo.
So this is our balcony with an amazing view.
And this is our bedroom. In Paris, apartments are very small, so we thought we could find a big apartment in Toronto.
To us, the deal was, okay, let's have a smaller place, but at a very good location. This is our microwave, which happens to be an oven as well. Here we have, in the same unit, the dryer and the washing machine built together, just to save space instead of having, two units. Moving to the kitchen, we have different appliances and two burners here.
Yes, half-sized dishwasher.
Yeah, which actually does the job.
It's a small surface, but yes, we are very close to everything. We are downtown, so it's good. We have a good view and the subway in front of the door, so yeah, that's cool.
I don't know, do you think that's cozy or claustrophobic? I guess it sort of depends on your perspective on these things. So those gentlemen, they live in a place called Smart House. It's the first of its kind in Toronto, and those units that are around 300 square feet, that's kind of like living in a TTC bus, around the same size. So this team from Ryerson University said that these can be good strategies to make units more affordable and attainable for people. Here's why.
According to some of the micro units that have been built in the US, because they scale to size in terms of price, they can be rented at 20 to 30% below market rental rate, which is a great thing.
So on one hand, Lauren, it is building differently, but this report also talks about different financial strategies.
Exactly. This is just one piece of the puzzle. Obviously, money matters when you're trying to rent or buy. So these Ryerson researchers talked about some innovative funding models that can actually help cut those costs for the people trying to live there. I actually met one woman who has a really interesting story. She found a 2-bedroom plus den condo for a price that's pretty hard to believe. I'll have more on that coming up.
Thank you, Lauren. She's the newly elected president of U of T Scarborough Student Union. Now she's getting threats on social media. Coming up, why she feels a centuries-old geopolitical conflict is at the root of the anger.
These students are giving me this backlash because of my Tibetan identity. When I was flooded with these, bombarded with hate messages, I had a feeling, there must be some sort of connection to the Chinese embassy or the Chinese government.
When you heard the gunshot, what was going through your mind?
Not again.
That's what residents in the Islington and Rexdale area were thinking last night as a man was shot in their community. People ran out and tried to save him, but as Linda Ward tells us, they were too late.
It was around 11 o'clock last night when a man in his late 20s was shot in this courtyard here. He collapsed somewhere in this area. Residents who were just sitting back for the night watching television heard a single gunshot blast.
And all of a sudden, bang!
Like a loud pop.
Some of the residents of these townhomes here did run out to help, some of them even doing CPR on the man as he lay dying here on the ground until paramedics arrived. They took him to hospital where he was pronounced dead.
Holy, I just heard peers screaming from the windows, like, people saying, please, no, stop, help him. So I'm like, what idiot thing? So I came outside, seen a big crowd right here, seen a man on the floor dead, crop out. Seen little youths running, everything, like, yo, go back inside. You guys are too young for this.
Now, police say that 2 men were seen fleeing the area. One of them, they say, left in a tan or green SUV that went this way. The other, they say, went along this pathway on foot.
Anyone that may have witnessed the incident or has information in regards to what happened, they're asked to contact the homicide squad.
Police were forced to rake through the snow for evidence left here at the scene, but the snow yielded evidence of its own, footprints that showed the direction the suspect fled. Linda Ward, CBC News, Toronto.
A shooting like last night's may have been picked up by technology that detects the sound of gunfire and reports it to police. It is a controversial system that's used in dozens of U.S. cities, and the mayor was hoping it could help curb shootings here. But plans to bring ShotSpotter to Toronto have been scrapped. Farmer Morelli joins us live now from police headquarters, and Farah, police saying the technology could actually go against our Charter of Rights.
That's right, Dwight. What it all comes down to is privacy. The concern really is what else can the microphones in this technology pick up? And could that information gathered be potentially used to incriminate somebody? Toronto police have decided that this ShotSpotter technology is simply too legally risky, but that exact concern was raised by advocates months and months ago.
A gun is fired somewhere in your city. So what happens now?
It's a technology that claims it can pinpoint the exact location of a shooting instantly.
The system detects, locates, and immediately alerts police of the gunshot.
At the heart of the ShotSpotter technology, microphones on buildings or lampposts in a neighborhood. People here started talking about it last summer, after the Danforth shooting.
This is proven technology. The New York police chief said it was the single biggest contributor to the reduction in gun fire activity.
Today, a decidedly different message from the city's mayor.
The ShotSpotter is a decision that, yes, for now that will not be implemented.
Toronto police say the decision to scrap the technology has to do with privacy. It issued a statement today saying, as a result of our research efforts to date, and based on the technology that currently exists, we were given the opinion that ShotSpotter technology could compromise Section 8 of the Charter rights, specifically unreasonable search and seizure. Because of this, we have decided to move forward without this technology.
It's a last-minute walk.
But that specific issue had already been raised last summer by experts and by members of the public.
From the sounds of it, you're going to be putting microphones to record the conversations of anybody in the public.
ShotSpotter
was heralded as some new form of technology that somehow was going to solve gun violence.
Those who voted against funding the technology say the idea was just a distraction.
We've had report after report for decades that says that if you want to tackle gun violence, you get handguns off the streets and you invest in programming to develop strong and safe neighborhoods. ShotSpotter did neither of those.
The Toronto Police Association says it's now time to get back to talking about what's really needed.
We're not surprised, and we think that the money should be spent on things that are really effective, like getting us the frontline resources that have an impact on safe communities.
Now, Dwight, as for what happens next, Tory did say to reporters today that he's still committed to the city's gun violence reduction strategy. Remember, that's the 5-year, $44 million plan that was approved last year. But an issue still seems to be funding. One of the things Cressy told me today is the city's not getting the funding it needs for a lot of these community initiatives. In particular, he talked a lot about community policing. We're still not seeing the money that the city needs to fund more community police officers, which we know has been talked about quite a bit when it comes to solutions to gun violence in Toronto.
Yeah, it looks like they're looking to other levels of government for that. Thank you, Farah.
We have stood against billionaires' attempts to extract our tax dollars and shove us out of our communities.
I'm not going to sit here and say the capital of business in the entire world doesn't want business. We're closed for business in Queens, everybody.
Amazon has canceled their order, the one that would have set up a second headquarters in Queens, New York. It comes after heavy opposition from local politicians and residents, fearful they drive the cost of living way up. So where does that leave Toronto's bid? That story coming up next.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Donald Trump is poised to declare a national emergency as part of a deal to avoid another partial U.S. government shutdown. Press Secretary Sarah Sanders says President Trump will sign the government funding bill, and as he has stated before, he will also take other executive action, including a national emergency, to ensure we stop the national security and humanitarian crisis at the border. The president is once again delivering on his promise to build the wall, protect the border, and secure our great country. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi isn't buying Trump's assertion and says the Democrats are reviewing their options.
First of all, it's not an emergency. What's happening at the border? It's a humanitarian challenge to us. The president has tried to sell a bill of goods to American people. But putting that aside, just in terms of the president making an end run around Congress.
The emergency declaration allows Trump to divert other funds to pay for his southern border wall because today's spending bill does not include the $5.7 billion Trump demanded for the project. The Senate has approved the bill, and the House is expected to do the same tonight, so Trump can sign it before Friday's deadline. New York is no longer the big apple of Amazon's eye. The e-commerce giant announcing they are scrapping plans to build their HQ2 in NYC. Senior technology reporter Matthew Braga is here to explain it all for us and tell us what the heck happened here?
So it depends on the perspective you look at it from, right? From Amazon's perspective, they're saying that state and local politicians weren't willing to work with the company. They opposed the company coming to the city, and it left the company in a bit of a sticky situation, right? How can they move to a city where people aren't going to have the political will to welcome there? From the perspective of those local politicians, from community leaders, for people who've opposed the deal, this is a victory for them, right? This is them succeeding at being able to push back against a deal which, from the start, right, people really criticized was taking place behind closed doors. It was taking place in secret. There were a lot of concerns like that from the get-go. And you've got to remember, I mean, there were a lot of concerns from the start, right? The concerns about this incentive package, which was almost $3 billion of state and city money, right? A huge, huge amount of money. Concerns about the sort of neighborhood into which Amazon would be moving, Long Island City, Queens.
Gentrification.
Exactly. Extreme gentrification. When you take 25,000 employees earning an average salary of $150,000 and plopping them into this neighborhood, what's it going to do for the community? What's it going to do to transit, which is already buckling? Lots and lots of concerns, and certainly Amazon, I think, finally deciding, you know what, this isn't worth it.
Well, Toronto was in the running also for this HQ2. 2 days ago, when we heard rumors the New York deal was falling apart, our mayor had this to say.
I'll just say I've communicated with the people of Amazon that we're still here. They know that, and even subsequent to the fact that that we were, we didn't sort of win in the finals. We have had continuous discussions since then with them. My message to them has continuously been, we'd be delighted to have any aspect of Amazon's operations here, including part of their head office, and those decisions are up to them.
So our mayor is still interested. I got my Valentine's Day tie on. It's Valentine's Day, Matt. Could there still be an Amazon Toronto hookup here?
Unlikely, in a formal sense at least. So what Amazon has said is they are not going to be reopening the search for a new HQ2. What they're going to be doing instead is taking those 25,000 employees that would have been based in New York City, and they're going to spread them out across all their other hubs. And they specifically say they're tech hubs, 18 tech hubs in U.S. and Canada. So in Toronto already, right, they have 800 people that are working within their Toronto corporate office. In December, they said they would be adding another 600. There's already 10,000 people who are working in Amazon across Canada already. So it's likely that we'll see some of those employees who would have been based there based here instead, but nothing quite so formal, right? Nothing that says officially this is like an HQ2. It'll just sort of be more kind of people. And the same for New York as well. That's kind of the thing that a lot of people are looking at New York and saying as well, if this whole thing was to pick a new HQ and you're not going to Amazon, but you're still just going to put those employees in New York anyways, like why go through this whole sort of song and dance of trying to get subsidies in the first place? So certainly another thing that is puzzling people at this juncture.
Our senior technology reporter, Matthew Braga. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Dwight.
A centuries-old geopolitical conflict is playing out right here in Toronto. The fight for Tibetan sovereignty has been long, contentious, and centered halfway around the world. So, how did it become a factor in the University of Toronto Scarborough campus student election? Lisa Shing spoke with the union's president-elect.
Like, go die, and like, I'll make your life hell on campus, even if you win.
Kemi Lamo just got elected as the next president of U of T Scarborough's student union. But during the campaign and after her win, she started seeing comments spamming her social media accounts like, "You're not going to be the president of UTSC. We'll make sure things get done so you won't survive a day." There's even a petition that calls for her to step down.
At first, of course, it takes you aback, right?
Lamo is from Tibet, an autonomous region in China where there's been a push by some for sovereignty. She says the comments she's been getting have mostly come from Han Chinese.
And what did you make of these messages that you were getting?
It's hard or heartbreaking to see sometimes that your constituents or your students that you serve are so passionate about serving are upset about you.
This post by a student group on the social media platform WeChat is all about Lamo's election. It says the U of T student union is about to be controlled by Tibetan separatists, and our money should not be used for Free Tibet movement. CBC reached out to that group but did not hear back. This expert says the comments and threats echo previous online campaigns by the Chinese government at academic institutions.
University is definitely an important center because from the university, a lot of influential people will be reached, either from a university level, from an industry level, or future leaders.
Meanwhile, Lamo says she's not afraid of representing the very people who are sending her those messages.
So I think that just pushes me and encourages me to strive for wisdom, continue to create platforms and spaces for dialogue and conversations with these communities.
The University of Toronto says it's in touch with Lamo and is focused on making sure she feels safe. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
From micro-condos to home sharing, we're talking about housing innovations tonight. A new report from Ryerson University says the city needs to push the envelope to help ease the housing crunch. Our City Hall reporter, Lauren Pelly, is back with more on this now. Lauren, you met a woman who got a great deal on a condo.
She did, and it's a huge comparison to what you normally face in the city, where it's an average of $600,000 for a condo and $800,000 for a house. She did not pay that for her condo. She got a 2-bedroom plus den in Danforth Village. Lovely spot. I saw it myself. And here's how she did that.
My name is Visha, and this is my affordable, attainable condo.
I saved for the down payment on my own. I didn't get any family help. It cost around $350. It's a 2-bedroom plus den, and it's 809 square feet.
What we do here is we help people with a down payment support. So I think when Visha talked about providing a down payment, she was providing 5% down, and then we typically are providing usually between 10 and 15% of the value of the unit we provide to the purchaser as a down payment support.
And actually right below there's a terrace that's kind of sort of a communal space. Going from a rental that wasn't well maintained, like even having like ensuite washer dryer is kind of nice. Dishwasher is nice. The fact that it's so quiet, except for the train that moves every half hour or so, like it's just so quiet. Yeah.
And it's yours.
And it's fine. Yeah.
So how this process works, this is a non-profit. So essentially all the money that's going into this project, they are using that to help these people out. So in this case, if you were trying to buy one of these condos, you would be putting part of that down payment together, that 5% or so, and then this nonprofit would be using funds to put together another 10 or 15% as a loan. Then when you sold that condo later, you would be repaying that loan at the new value. And in Toronto's hot housing market, I should say, that is only going to go up. So essentially it's a win-win. They call it a hand up, not a handout, helping people get into the housing market. And this Ryerson report is saying that these types of strategies are a way for people to get a foot in the door. And it seems now as well that the city is listening.
It's not only about
building what has been built, because it might not respond to the needs of what people want nowadays, the way that we're living our lives, the size of families that we have, you know.
These are all things that the city can consider this year as it puts together its next 10-year housing strategy, something that we will be following in the months ahead. Dwight?
Yeah, some interesting ideas there. Thank you, Lauren. It is, of course, Valentine's Day. For it, we spoke to a group of seniors with #ElderWisdom. We decided to ask them, how do you know when it's really love? Take a listen.
Well, how can I put that?
How do you know when it's love?
There's a sparkle in the eye, I believe.
The person keeps looking at you all the time, staring at you, wanting to talk to you.
You can actually feel it. Like, that's the person I want to meet. That's the person I want to be with.
When you both work together on the same situation.
If they're too shy, you approach them and say, hi, I'm so-and-so.
You really feel it in your heart.
And we're sending love to our viewers on this Valentine's Day. And we must really love them because we stare at them through the screen all the time, just like she said, and we're always talking to them.
Yes, and sending out kisses, hugs and kisses and love. That's right. I love that piece. They're so cute. That's absolutely awesome. I think you're going to love the temperatures. Can I say that about the forecast? Maybe not so much what comes along with it, but not a bad day today. And I think it's time to kind of take our temperature, so to speak, in terms of where our average high is. At this time of year, -1.4 would be the average daytime high, and an average low is -10. By the way, record snow, you see it here from 1957, but the record snow on the ground still from 2008 is like 48 centimeters. So, hey, we don't have it so bad, right? And we certainly don't have it so bad in terms of the mild temperatures we have out there. 0 right now in Toronto and Mississauga, -1 in Markham. We're seeing above 0. St. Catharines, 1 degree. We do have a system pushing through tonight, not much moisture with it. Mostly it's going to be rain because the temperature's actually coming up through the overnight. That's what I mean. You're going to love those temperatures. It's just we don't really get to experience them because most will be sleeping when they occur. Say 5 to 7, maybe 9 millimeters of rainfall for Markham, and it's kind of a mix with some wet flurries changing over to some rain showers close to the lakeshore especially. Here's the system here again. It's not filled in very well. It's a little bit spotty in nature, coming in through the overnight hours. A bit of a mix at times, and there'll be snowfall to the north, but closer to the lakeshore, it's wet flurries changing over to rain showers, and then rain showers into early tomorrow morning. Maybe a little bit of a mix again on the back end, and then some wet flurries around kind of scattered into the afternoon hours. But you know what? We do have a holiday weekend coming up, and we're setting ourselves up pretty nicely into Saturday. High pressure builds in. It's going to bring some colder air in, but it's also going to bring us some sunshine. Looking good in that sense. Look at these temperatures. This is overnight tonight. 2 for Markham, 4 for Mississauga, Toronto, 5 for St. Catharines, and then guess what happens tomorrow? So don't dress for the morning temperatures, or do, but then take what you're going to need for the afternoon. Temperatures falling by afternoon, -4 to -5 we'll be seeing, and those winds being a little breezy means we'll have a wind chill making it feel even colder than that, -13 into tomorrow. But a look into the weekend. Okay, there's some colder air in place. Remember those numbers? We should be at about -1.4. And yeah, we're going to be on the colder side, but we're going to have some sunshine. And we get to take a little breather, Dwight, from some of these systems that have been moving through.
We need a break. And when you come to the newsroom at the end of the show, we're going to have some more senior love advice.
Oh, okay. I'm looking for I need it, so I'm coming down.
Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
It's not just cars or trucks getting stuck in the snow. This plane got caught in a snowbank at Pearson last night. The WestJet's flight came to Toronto from Calgary, I think, around 10 p.m. As it tried to turn onto the taxiway, it got stuck. 6 crew members and 123 passengers were on board. None was injured, but they were stranded for about 2 hours before the plane was towed away. The Toronto man who attacked employees at a Canadian Tire store, I should say woman, has been sentenced to 7 years in prison.
The judge was very clear that these were serious offenses, and she wanted to make it clear to others who might be inclined to commit offenses like this, or to go join a terrorist group, or to act at their behest domestically, that they are going to be punished severely if they do so.
A judge saying today Rehab Dugmash's mental illness, believed to be schizophrenia, played a significant role in last June's attack. Dugmash used a golf club and a butcher's knife to attack employees at the Scarborough store. She was draped in an ISIS banner at the time. Dugmash had previously tried to travel to Syria to join the Islamic State. In today's sentencing, the judge said Dugmash's mental illness made her vulnerable to extremist beliefs. The Supreme Court of Canada has made a landmark ruling on the issue of privacy rights. It found a London, Ontario high school teacher guilty of voyeurism after he secretly filmed female students with a camera pen. Olivia Stefanovic has more.
In a unanimous decision, 9 Supreme Court judges agree students don't give up their privacy rights when they're at school, even though it's a public space. At issue in this case was whether 27 female students aged 14 to 18 had a reasonable expectation of privacy in their classrooms and hallways when their London, Ontario teacher, Ryan Jarvis, used a so-called spy pen to secretly film their faces, chests, and cleavage areas. The original court judge found Jarvis violated the students' rights, but wasn't satisfied the videotapes were made for a sexual purpose. Jarvis was acquitted. The Crown appealed. The Ontario Court of Appeal found Jarvis did act with sexual intent, but still upheld his acquittal, arguing the students had no reasonable expectation of privacy at school, pointing to the presence of 24-hour surveillance cameras. Today, the top court quashed that decision, and many privacy experts are celebrating.
I think it's a really important decision for Canadians' privacy rights going forward, in particular because the court again rejects in very clear terms the idea that being in a so-called public space somehow should be interpreted as a waiver of one's privacy.
But others are concerned. Jarvis's lawyers released a statement calling the ruling troubling, saying it casts the criminal bar too wide. Everyone can agree that the ruling has far-reaching implications. How they are interpreted going forward remains to be seen. Olivia Stefanovic, CBC News, Ottawa.
If we are to leave by road to get to Port-au-Prince to fly out, we'll need some sort of a secure detail.
Dozens of Canadians in Haiti have found themselves stranded with little hope of coming home soon. Street protests over the past week have turned violent, making it impossible to reach the airport safely. We'll bring you more on this story after the break. Upwards of 100 Canadian tourists have been stuck in Haiti for days now. Violent street protests have made it even unsafe for them to get to the airport, and today the Canadian embassy was closed. Steve Rukavina now with the latest.
Well, it's now 100 people that are stuck at the Royal Decameron Resort. That's about 80 kilometers northwest of Port-au-Prince. And we learned today as well, 26 volunteers from a church group in Laval doing volunteer work are stuck in a village near the town of Les Cailles. That's about 200 kilometers southwest of Port-au-Prince. The problem for both these groups is ground transportation. Because of the ongoing violent street protests over rising fuel prices and rising cost of consumer goods, these people simply can't make it safely to the airport.
Ça fait plusieurs jours que les gens manifestent dans les rues, qui bloquent les rues, qui brûlent des pneus, et il n'y a rien qui passe. Tout est vraiment bloqué. Moi, j'ai jamais vu ça en 20 ans. Autant de manifestations, j'ai déjà vu des manifestations, mais jamais sur une aussi longue période.
Now, as these street protests continue, both these groups, the volunteers and the tourists, are safe. Both were supposed to get out on an Air Transat flight yesterday. Air Transat says it's still working with local officials on the ground to try to come up with a solution to get these people through ground transport safely to the airport. Air Transat says the next scheduled flight is Sunday, but it has a plane standing by now and could bring it in before then if it's able to arrange that transport. Both the federal government and the Quebec government say they're watching the situation closely, but they're not intervening at this point. One complication here is that the Canadian embassy in Port-au-Prince is closed because of the protests there. So people on the ground, if they want help, can call for consular assistance, a 1-800 number, but that's based out of Ottawa. So as this goes on, the volunteers and the tourists are starting to get anxious as they wonder when they might be able to get back home. Steve Rukavina, CBC News, Montreal.
I'm Eli Glasner here at the Tiff Bell Lightbox at the red carpet premiere of the Umbrella Academy. I know, Dwight, you're thinking, what is this Umbrella Academy? It's a new series popping up on Netflix tomorrow, shot right here in our hometown and starring. Look at all the stars that are coming here to Toronto just to celebrate this show, including Ellen Page and Mary J. Blige. Just a few of the people we're waiting for here at the Lightbox, and I'll tell you all about it coming up on CBC News Toronto. See you soon.
Netflix is pushing the boundaries of the superhero genre with its new series, The Umbrella Academy. It tells the story of a dysfunctional family of superheroes. The series starts streaming tomorrow, and if some of the scenery looks familiar, it's because it was shot right here in Toronto. Eli Glasner is on the red carpet right now at the TIFF Bell Lightbox. And Eli, the cast expected to walk there soon.
Yeah, I mean, so we got Ellen Page, who has been in the news a lot lately, and she plays one of the 7 children with remarkable powers. These unexpected births happen a few years ago, and then this headmaster of sorts gathers them together to basically save the day. We actually have a little clip if you want to take a look. So here's a little taste of the Umbrella Academy. Take a look.
I have adopted 6 children, gifted with abilities far beyond the ordinary. I give you the Umbrella Academy.
So there you go. You got mystery, you got superpowers, you got special effects, and lots of Toronto locations. And of course, a Canadian at the center. But actually, a lot of Canadians, a lot of young Canadian actors played some of those children with the powers. But Ellen Page, as I mentioned, I mean, her power right now is making headlines. She's been speaking out very forcefully in support of gay rights, speaking on the Stephen Colbert Show, and then also speaking about the religious group Hillsong, who will be coming to Toronto, that organization, later on in the summer. So we're certainly standing by to talk with Paige about what she's been hearing after she's been expressing herself. And also, as I mentioned, Mary J. Blige plays kind of like a Men in Black sort of secret agent. So really interesting to hear what that soul singer has to say about kind of playing sort of the bad guy in this series. And then our own favorite Comfior plays that weird headmaster. So lots of talent about to walk this red carpet, freshly vacuumed. So they're about to appear, and we'll be standing by to see what they have to say and let you know all about it, Dwight.
Eli, if Mary J. Blige is going to be on the red carpet next time, just take me with you, buddy. Bye, Eli.
All right, I'm going to keep that in mind.
All right. This pic is from Graham Tebbett from J.C. Saddington Park after being covered in water from the waves last night. This is a really good one. Love that. Remember, you can get your photos to us by posting them on Twitter or Instagram with the hashtag CBCYourGTA, and we will, of course, air some of them on the show. Stay with us. We will be right back.
This is Metro Morning, and I'm Matt Galloway. Commuter chaos and gridlock traffic. If you're in a car right now, you might be in the midst of it. So why are Toronto roads at a standstill?
Flexible work hours are one way to get around the traffic and transit problems in the city. But is there an actual solution to get Toronto moving?
From Matt in the morning to Dwight in the evening, CBC is Toronto.
Trust is the best one. If you don't trust the person, you don't have anything, I don't think.
Show affection, even if it be a hug or a kiss.
To share things, to share your troubles with each other, and you try and get along with all his friends, and he tries to get along with yours.
You have to know about the other party, where they're coming from and who they are, and that's all the name of the game.
If you don't have a good sense of humor, you could be doomed because everybody has their old idiosyncrasies where they just get on your nerves. So if you can't laugh at yourself and you can't laugh at them, what's the use?
Yeah, they do.
Nice.
Your nerves, you have to have a good sense of humor.
Yes.
That's always good in a relationship.
That's good for life.
Yes.
Like that's
right?
And respect. I think respect
problem,
is always a big deal.
That is a very important part of it. But Mother Nature has had the sense of humor. She's been playing tricks and jokes on us all season, Colin.
And no respect. She's showing us no respect.
You hit the nail right on the head, my friend. Yes.
Another system moving through tonight. You know what? This one's fairly weak. It's not going to be a big deal for us, but we are looking at some wet snow or wet flurries kind of turning over to rain showers. You know, she gives us the temperatures going up tonight, 3-4 degrees in the overnight hours. But yeah, it's in the overnight hours. And then what happens is through the day tomorrow, we'll see this move out tomorrow morning. So it could be a little bit wet on the roadways for the morning commute, just so you know. But see that arrow? That means temperature falling in through the day. Instead of getting warmer in the afternoon, it goes down to -4.
All right, after I deliver the flowers, I'm going to actually go out and do some shoveling tonight.
Oh, well, see, that's romantic.
Well,
in this time of year?
Yes.
That's romantic.
And it's also because you're giving us a warm-up so we can actually get some of that out of the way. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Thank you for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 6.